Alright, continuing geometry today, we're going to be talking about the volume of cylinders. Here's your warm-up. Go ahead and pause here. Copy down the problems. Make sure you copy down all of the details. Find your answer and then press play when you're ready to correct. Alright, so for number 1, you should have multiplied each of the three dimensions, 12 times 11 times 10, and you should have gotten 1,320 centimeters cubed. It is cubed because it is volume. Number 2, triangular prism with a height of 11 and a base of 10.2. So you should have had 11 times 1/2 times 11 times 10.2, and then multiplied that by the height, which is 6.4, and you should have got 359.04 centimeters cubed. Alright, so to find the volume of a cylinder, you can use the same method as we did before with prisms. So you're going to find the area of the base and then multiply it by the height. So with cylinders, the base is a circle, so you're finding the area of a circle, so that's the big B. It's going to be pi r squared. And then you're going to multiply it by the height, so how many layers of that circle you have. Make sure you get those formulas written down in your notes. Alright, so we're going to find the volume of this cylinder to the nearest cubic unit, so that the nearest whole number. So we are going to have volume equals big B, base area, times height. So to find the base area, we'll have pi r squared. They don't tell us what to use for pi, so you can use 3.14, you can use 22/7, or you can use the pi button on your calculator. And we'll be rounding to the nearest unit, so it shouldn't matter which version you use. Okay, so in this example we're going to use 3.14, but if you want to use something else, that is totally fine. And the radius is 4, so it's going to be 3.14 times 4 squared times 7. And that is going to give us about, remember, because we're using something for pi, we're using 3.14 for pi, that means that our answer is going to be an approximation. We are rounding. So we have 351.68, and we're going to round that to the nearest whole cubic unit. So 0.68 is closer to the next whole number than it is to 51. So we are going to say that our answer is 352 feet cubed. Alright, again we are going to find the volume of this cylinder, and our radius is going to be 5 since the diameter is 10. And we're going to use the base area, pi r squared, times height. We're going to use 3.14 for pi, and then our radius is 5. So 3.14 times 5 squared times 11, which is the height, and we'll get about, because we're using 3.14, about 863.5, and we're rounding that to the nearest whole number. So since it's 0.5, we're going to round up to 864 centimeters cubed. Alright, this one's a little bit different because they're giving us some variables in here. So we're going to solve it the exact same way. So the radius, even though that it looks like it's a diameter, they're saying that radius equals h over 3 plus 4. So we will assume that that is correct. So in order to find the radius, we are going to use the height. They tell us that the height h equals 9, so we're going to substitute 9 in for h. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, plus 4 is 7. So that means that our radius is 7. We're going to take that and put it into our formula. We'll use 3.14 for pi, and we'll put 7 in for the radius. 3.14 times 7 squared times 9. will give us 1,384.74, and we're going to round that to the nearest cubic unit. So we'll round up to 1,385 inches cubed. All right, we're going to skip this one. Okay, a similar one again. Our radius is h over 4 plus 5, so we're going to use what they give us for h to figure out the radius. So we are going to put 8 in for h, and we find that our radius is 7. And now we can put that into the formula, 3.14 times 7 squared times 8 for the height. And we have 1,230.88, and we're going to round that to the nearest cubic unit, so 1,231 inches cubed. Alright, so Allie has a cylinder-shaped pencil holder with a 3-inch diameter and a height of 5 inches. Scott has a cylinder-shaped pencil holder with a 4-inch diameter and a height of 6 inches. Estimate the volume of each cylinder to the nearest cubic unit. So we're going to find the radius. So for Allie's, the diameter is 3 inches, which means that the radius is 1.5. And we're going to put 3.14 in for pi and 1.5 in for the radius. And we find that Allie's pencil holder, the volume will be about 35 cubic inches. We're going to do the same thing for Scott's. The radius of this pencil holder is 2. We'll use that in the formula. This time we're using 22 over 7. You could use 3.14 if you like. Okay, so Scott's is about 75 inches cubed. Whoops. So 75 inches cubed, and we'll look back at Allie's was only 35. So Scott's definitely is larger. Alright, so we're going to skip this example. And we'll skip this one as well and go on to the lesson quiz. So here's your lesson quiz. Make sure you write down the information from each of the problems. You'll use 3.14 for pi for each of these. Make sure you're using that squiggly equal sign to show that it's an estimation. Go ahead and pause here and I will show you part 2, and we'll go over these in class. Alright, here's part 2. You don't need to write down every single word, but the information from the problem. Show your work. If you're using a formula, make sure you're writing down the formula first.